Welcome to the Morning Huddle, everyone. I'm here with my mommy's folks. I'm going to be talking about family time and the importance of family time. And we're going to share some things about, our family time and what we do. Obviously, because of the pandemic, people were forced to spend more time together, right? And now that we're sort of all going back to work and going back perhaps into our normal routines or some semblance of that. But how much quality time do you really spend with each other is the question, right?
Yeah.
You have your stats up? We did a unofficial poll, right? So you want to share with everyone what you have?
Yeah. So our first question was, how many days a week do you eat as a family? And the categories that we split them up in is, we did 1 to 2 days, 3 to 4 days, 5 to 7 days, or never. And the whole 41 people have taken it so far. So 51.2% responded that they have dinner with their family 5 to 7 days a week. You want me to read off the entire stats?
Yeah.
For that category?
Right.
So 29.3% have said that they have dinner 3 to 4 times together, 4 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week. And then 14.6% have responded and said that they eat as a family 1 to 2 times a week. And then 4.9% said they never do.
Okay.
That was the first question.
All right. So that's interesting. So we try to eat together every night, right?
Night, yeah.
We rushed and made dinner tonight because we had to be on the live, right?
Yeah.
Before 8 o'clock. So, and that's part of our family time, is that we're in the kitchen together, right? Like tonight, cooking and sharing in that way as well. And then Noah's getting to see us in the kitchen cooking together, which is a good message to send to him. It's also a good message to send to Aiden, who's my son. Aiden lives with us. He's 17, and it's good for him to see that as well. So that's what our family time looks like. And so you guys can chime in on what yours looks like, and if you cook with your significant other, or whatever. How many times do you guys eat with your family in a given week? For us, we're probably in that 5 to 7 range.
Yeah.
Is that fair, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it's the nature of your job as well. So it's almost like that is probably the only time during the day that we are able to have family time where everybody can sit on the table and just sit together and eat and, be in the kitchen together and all of that. So I think that's like the kind of the highlight of our family time.
Yeah. All right. What you got next?
So our second question was, how many hours in a given week do you spend as a family doing extracurricular activities? And so we asked the brackets were 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 4 hours, 5 hours or more, or none. And 35.5% have responded and said that it was 5 or more hours. 29% responded it was 3 to 4 hours. 25.8% responded it was 1 to 2 hours. And 9.7% said none.
So 4% aren't eating together, 9% aren't doing extracurricular activities together.
Yeah.
Be it family night, be it pizza night, be it go to the park together, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
That's sad. It makes me sad.
Yeah. It could be sometimes like the family dynamics. It just are not set up that way. Maybe it is perhaps a single family household where, the mom is perhaps or the dad is working all day and the kids have to, eat by themselves or whatever the situation is. So
I was reading some statistics that children are more acquainted with their technology than they are with their parents. They're spending probably 10 hours a day interfacing with technology and 24 minutes a day on average doing chores. So that doesn't leave much time for family time, does it?
No. Yeah, that's
So
interesting.
that could be part of the challenge as well.
Yeah, because if you're doing, I mean, if the kids are on, their devices and the parents are on their devices, then there's no time for extracurricular activities, right?
Right.
Unless somebody like makes the initiative.
I hope this is a family time moment for people watching.
Yeah.
So you should be watching with your family and not alone. So please call everyone in the room. What else do you have?
Okay, so my third question I asked was, how many times a year do you go on vacation as a family? So the brackets were once a year, twice a year, 3 or more times a year, and then none. And so the 35.7% said none.
Wow.
33.3% said once a year. 21.4% said twice a year, and 9.5% said 3 times or more a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
A big percent said none. Interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if also they're taking consideration Corona. Maybe that could be also.
I've got some stats on that. You want to hear?
Yeah.
And this is from 2020, but pre-corona. Okay, so put it in perspective. 62% of parents take kids under 5 years old with them on vacation.
Under 5. Okay.
Under 5. Okay. 30% of families spend $2,000 to $5,000 on their vacations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty standard, right?
Yeah.
22% of all families like to take road trips. I fall in the 20% club.
Yes, you do.
The 22% club.
Yes, you do.
I'm a road trip guy.
Yeah.
Anybody there with me? Who likes to take road trips? I like to take road trips.
I had to adjust.
Road trips are fun because you get to bond. You get to, again, it's kind of like being quarantined, but you're in that vehicle for 8 hours or whatever it is. And you have to do something. You have to talk to each other. You have to entertain one another, right?
Yeah.
So I find it really a good time to build those bonds.
Yeah.
Or the opposite could happen and you start to fight and that's not good.
Yeah. No, well, now that ever since being with you, I now appreciate road trips. But prior to that, it was just like, it was torture. I did not want to be on road trips ever. Like, I just want to be on a flight, get to my destination, and then just deal with it there. But you had me enjoy road trips with you.
All right, so what else do you have for us?
So this is the last question I asked. If you are now working remotely, how has this impacted your family? So the categories are it's gotten better, it's gotten worse, or it is no change at all. And 57.6% said it's gotten better. 30.3% said no change, and 12.1% said it's gotten worse.
Wow. That 12% probably the same ones that said 4% no family time and 9% no extracurricular activities, right? So
Yeah.
probably the same folks answering those questions. So that's interesting. So I think for us, I say thank God for 2020.
Yes.
Right? How many of you feel the same way? How many of you feel, I am so glad that 2020 happened the way it happened?
Yeah.
Or are you begrudging the fact that we've had the coronavirus and all this civil unrest and what have you? How are you looking at it? How are you thinking about it? How are you processing 2020? It is definitely going to be a pivotal year, right, that everyone's going to remember. But how are you going to come out on the other end of this? And I think it's a blessing in disguise. Is my thought.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Agree with you. Yes, 100%. I agree with you. I think that it's allowed families to bond, and kind of get together and just have that, that luxury of being together, without kind of worrying, whether or not they're going to have to split their days up between work and family time. So I think it's really is a blessing in disguise. And I also believe, like, with us, like in our family dynamic, in your line of work, we barely ever see you, and especially we were coming off of the holiday season, and when that comes around, we barely even see you. And so I think it was just a great refresher for our family to just have that time together. It definitely is a blessing. I always will say that pandemic is a blessing. Obviously, if you've lost a loved one, if you've gotten sick, I mean, that's a tragedy. But I think overall, I think people were faced to, were forced to face, whatever they were trying to avoid, whether it's their love life, their relationships, their families, their finances, whatever it is that was kind of, they were putting on the back burner, kind of resurfaced, and it allowed them to kind of just face it, because there was nothing else to do. It was just like, if you're, with your family, you had that. If you were alone, you had, kind of have to deal with all of that. So, although it might be a little heavy for some people, but I think in long term, it's a positive that's come, that we've experienced.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, sad that 200,000 people had to lose their lives because of coronavirus. But we've got to turn it into a positive. We can't allow it to affect our mental health in such a way that we start believing in self-fulfilling prophecies. And we've got to see this year as it happened for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? And, the reason I'm doing this podcast with you right now is because of coronavirus. And it has been life-changing for me, the things that I'm doing now with my life. And I think many people can say that. Many people can say that they've made a transition in their life as a result of 2020. Again, it's horrific that people had to die as a result. But for those of us who remain, how do we want to represent their lives? How do we want to honor their lives? Right? I think by how we live it, by how we live our own lives, right? So, that's what they would want for us to do, I think. And I think the civil unrest that's happening as well is a positive, because it's brought to the surface so many things that were not discussed. Now we're talking freely about it. Now we're talking about unconscious bias. We're talking about that in the workplace. We had a call today, and most of the call was about diversity and inclusion, but about unconscious bias.
Wow.
And we've never done that before.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's because of the events of 2020. That's why that's happening. And those things were going to lead to progress. And it's how progress happens. There's always chaos, right? There's always something that happens that sparks progress. And I think that's what we're going to be gifted in 2021. But the question is, how do you want to end 2020, right? How do you prepare yourselves for the gift that 2020 has given you so that you can be ready to embrace that in 2021?
You just have to let go of whatever you have been kind of battling with, And I think it also allowed people to see life simplified. People have all the clothes hanging in their closet, right? They had all their, jewelry, all their cars, everything that people perhaps are, motivated to go to work for or whatever it is. And pandemic came, and there was a running joke, I'm going to wear my, dress that I bought to the living room. You know what I mean? So it was just we found that all that stuff did not matter, and we can live without, spending our money on these things that didn't matter, and essentially boiled down to what really truly matters to the core is, family time. And then when people start losing their loved ones, then that kind of gets them back into reality and just kind of simplified reality and what's important, what's not important. A lot of people had to either let go from their jobs, or they had to reevaluate their career choices. And in results of that, they started, their own businesses, their own, ventures, their own whatever it is that they were kind of holding off.
Yeah, I think we have to learn the lessons of 2020. And if I think about it, I think I was sort of stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prior to all this happening, and I don't know if anyone can relate to that. Mm-hmm. But when this all took place, it sort of snapped me out of that rut. Mm-hmm. And refocused me and allowed me to reprioritize my life. Yeah. and things that are important. So someone says we need to be grateful and live in the present moment. Absolutely, we have to live in the present moment. And we should look back on history as only a teacher. History should be something we learn from, mm-hmm. not something we begrudge, not something that we look back with this feeling of contempt. Yeah. We should learn from it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what it's there for. That's what history is there for. Whether it was something that tragic that happened or something that was great that happened, how are we learning the lessons of the pandemic, of civil unrest, of George Floyd, so on and so forth? Are we really taking stock in those things and what happened and making our lives better? And I think for the most part we are. I think society has changed. And we're also seeing the ugliness of society as well. It's like pull this veil back, right? Yeah. And we're really seeing society for what it is. Like, oh my God, those kind of people exist in our, I think we knew that, but a lot of people are being surprised now by the attitudes of certain people in certain parts of the country. Mm-hmm. When it comes to, race relations and things of this nature, when it comes to the coronavirus, it seems to be, what political party you belong to, as opposed to just belonging to the human race, being American, and having common sense. Yeah. To me, those are the things that matter. What are your thoughts? I was long-winded there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it just showed, the good and the bad. And now I think in results of the pandemic, where people were locked in their homes and they were forced to kind of face their demons. Mm-hmm. And so they were forced to face these demons. And I think like a subcategory kind of came out of that, where we see these anti-maskers, lockdown. And I think those people don't want to face the reality. And so they were like, okay, enough is enough. I can't take it anymore. We need out of this. And I think that's kind of like where that group stems out of, because yeah, and that's what I believe, because everybody else was, complicit and just kind of going through the motions. It was like, okay, we're going to be locked down for a couple of weeks, and then it went months, and now it's fall. So it's like a whole, we missed spring, summer, and then we're into fall right now. So it's pretty much like we've missed half of the year and kind of just sitting with ourselves. And I think that kind of just stemmed that anger. And then we have the revolt, that George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, everything kind of stems out of that. So I believe that is direct result of, people kind of just, they are forced to face their demons, and whichever way they responded.
Yeah. I think we got to be careful. I think there are people who are trying to hijack the movements that are happening in 2020. And I think we've got to be careful not to paint things with a broad brush. Yeah. Like the Black Lives Matter movement, for example. Yeah. And, people are trying to hijack that movement and for their own purposes, mm-hmm. which is unfortunate. Yeah. And so, we've got to just be focused. We cannot be distracted by those things.
Mm-hmm.
And what we really want, all of us in the middle, you and I were talking about this earlier, there are people on the extremes who control the narrative, who control what we fight about. And the rest of us in the middle look at each other with suspicion, right? As a result of what those on the extremes are arguing and fighting about. Mm-hmm. And we ought not do that. We need to take back the narrative and say what we need to be focused on is things like unconscious bias, things that we have in common, how to make this a better place, how to ensure that we have equality for everyone. And don't let extremism derail us from those goals that we're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not about, if I put my mask on, and I feel sorry for people who get caught into these traps. And that's what they are. These are traps that they get that are set for them, and they fall into these traps. And it shouldn't be about, if I put my mask on, that means I like a certain president, or I agree with your philosophy. It's not about that. It's about what's right for the common good, right? Mm-hmm. And I have a role to play in that. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. And we make it something else. Again, we start to buy into those extreme arguments that are made on the fringes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So now that we are, I know we are still dealing with a pandemic. The pandemic is not over. And so society has adjusted, the United States has adjusted around the pandemic. And that's our reality. And so I think that we should start thinking of ways as a society of how we can, now that everything kind of is unveiled, what is the progress or the process of us kind of building the ideal society for us? And what does that look like? Everything has changed. Anything pre-COVID pretty much is going to be non-existent.
Throw it in the trash. It's over.
It's just not going to happen. I think about the way that we have set up remote learning for our children and remote work, for our, people, companies have now decided to just keep the remote working. And do they really need their employers to go into work? Do they really need them there? Right. So they figure that out, that they don't really need them there. And they figure out a process that they can have them work from home and be productive.
It's also challenging people who have a fixed mindset. And Aiden, who is my son, he lives with us, is in school, obviously, and he has a teacher who is elderly, let's just say that, and is challenged by technology, but she's having to learn how to use whatever they're using, Teams, whatever they're using, Zoom, I believe it is. And she's having to learn a new skill, right?
Yeah.
And so she's an example, I think, of many people who are being challenged in ways they weren't expecting to be challenged at this point in their life because they've learned all they want to learn.
Yeah, right.
And I talk about this all the time. The extent to which you develop yourself, the extent to which you grow yourself is the extent to which you can grow and develop others.
Yeah.
So this teacher is going to learn a new skill set and be the better for it, right? She may not think it in the short term, but in the long term, she'll be the better for it because she'll be able to have those skills that may help her in some other future situation.
Yeah.
So I think it's fascinating how it is stretching us in so many different ways, this pandemic. And many people will succumb to it, unfortunately, but many will rise and be better because of it, which is going to be interesting. I'm waiting for 2021, not because I want this year to end per se, but I think it's just going to explode with so much innovation.
2020 has done for us until in 5 more years or something. I don't think we're going to see it in 2021 because we're still trying to figure out how to live around the pandemic still, So other countries have, eliminated COVID, taken care of it. The United States had decided that they were going to live around it. And so we set up our life around the pandemic. And so is it going, once, it goes away or they find a vaccine or whatever the case is, are we going to still live like this, or are we going to have a different construct of society? So it's going to be interesting to kind of find out.
Yeah, the thing is, the next argument will be to take the vaccine or not to take it, and maybe that's not for tonight's conversation, but I think it's going to depend on how it is sold to the American people. I think if we rush this thing, if we rush it, if we do it too fast, if we do it with haste, and if we're trying to do it with the end in mind, which is get it done before the election or whatever, people aren't going to trust that. We know most vaccines take 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what experts today were saying, that it won't be developed until 2024. Like it's not even going to be anytime soon. And then they were going to say that it's obviously vaccines are not mandatory, but it's also not going to be mandatory. So it all
I hope not, because we've been treating this vaccine differently, and we should, because it's more deadly than the flu.
Yeah.
But I think it is also the impetus for government to be a little overreaching. And so we've got to be careful. We've got to find the right balance. I believe we should wear the mask. I believe we should social distance. But we can't force people to take a vaccine. I don't think we should go that far. To me, that's an overreach. Yeah. The answer is somewhere in the middle. But we've got to, again, if you want people to take the vaccine, you've got to do it the right way and follow the steps and not rush it. Otherwise, it will seem too contrived and people won't trust the results.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree?
I'm really excited for it and kind of just to see where that goes, but it's exciting.
So we've been talking about family time, and we sort of got off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's relevant only because family time has been impacted by the events of 2020, and that's why we're spending so much time on it, because it's bringing people closer together in some cases. It is also pushing people apart. Yeah. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's really testing the strength of your relationship. And in some ways that might be a good thing. But it's definitely ripping the Band-Aid off many things and forcing us to deal with things in real time and not procrastinate, right? You couldn't procrastinate like you could before. You couldn't say, oh, I'll just wait till next year. No, you had to deal with it now. You had to do something now. And that's the position we were all sort of forced into, this collective. How many people have joined social media this year? It's astounding, right?
I mean,
if you look at it
for itself, people
TikTok, right?
I think, like they said, about 2 billion times it's been downloaded since the beginning of this year, some crazy number like that. And then it was just like, wow. But a lot of people have quit their jobs after becoming very successful on TikTok, because they started cooking, or they started arts and crafts, or started DIYs or home decor, and they their accounts blew up and they became successful. They were able to make a living that they are capable of quitting their 9-to-5. And so,
not since World War II have we seen so many people forced into action. That's a different kind of action, obviously, but it still was affecting the collective, right? Yeah. So coronavirus affected the collective and pushed us all into action. Yeah. And it was for us to decide what that action would be. But nonetheless, we were all sort of forced to say, I've got to do something today.
The sourdough bread.
Okay. Whatever it is.
That was like the trend when COVID first started. So people were trying to, and yeast was like hard to find because everybody was making sourdough bread. It was wild, but.
Do you remember when you couldn't find toilet paper?
Oh my gosh, yes. Or water. Remember, I bought, oh my God, I bought a 32 case water for $21 or something?
It was insane.
It was it was wild. And it was like a drug deal too.
And we had to buy, guys, have you ever, you know, the tissue paper, the toilet paper that you get when you go to, I don't know, anywhere, and it's this size and it's so thin. We had to get that toilet paper. It's industrial, commercial, whatever toilet paper. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was huge and paper thin.
It was awful.
It was awful. But it was great times. But no, it was.
You know, I had to
get a bidet.
Yeah, no, that was, yeah, I did. But that was on back order. But no, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my God. Oh no, people were coming together to put masks on, make masks. Remember that time where like there were, you know, you couldn't find masks, and then all of a sudden they became mandatory to wear, and nobody knew how to get one, and so everybody just started to like make one from home.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, I go back to World War II, where I think it's synonymous to that time where you had to take action, and life and death was involved in your action and inaction, right? You had to do something because you knew that the stimulus was going to run out. You knew that the extra $600 was going to run out at some point.
And some
you couldn't rely on that.
They were not even furloughed; they were fired.
What's that? She took a Barbie hammock and used it. Sorry.
See, I remember I had to use like a scarf that goes around your neck. I had to use it around my face, but it was so thick, and I was suffocating at times when I was out in the market. It was bad.
Yeah. You know, what's also important is that, you know, we've got a small son, 20 months years, but, you know, going through the pandemic, it was important to make sure he never felt stress from us, right? It was important that he always felt loved and that everything was okay, no matter what was going on. I was furloughed for 4 months, right? So you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know, is the company going to go under?
Yeah.
Am I going to have a job? I never let those negative thoughts enter into my mind. I just knew it was going to be okay, right? And you were great support to me. I just want to say that right now. And I think that's why we're perfect for each other, because we always think positively about our situation, no matter what's happening. And so it's important that he feels that too. Yeah. I don't think he was none the wiser. He had no idea a pandemic was going on. He had no idea Daddy was furloughed. He loved it because I was always home. And we developed new routines, and he thought it was great. Mm-hmm. And that's how it should be perceived by your children. So I think it's so important, no matter what's going on, no matter how difficult things are, your children, you can't put that stress on them. Yeah. You cannot. You can't have them share that burden of those moments.
Yeah, you have to stay positive.
Oh, thank you, Berta.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you have to. There's no way. I mean, if we were stressed or we were, anxious or just in a bad mood because we didn't know what the future was going to hold, children are very smart. They pick up on energy. They pick up on energy right away, like it's crazy. So we definitely have to maintain that. And I think
it's funny. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you.
Yeah, I was just said we just had fun together.
Oksana, you're eating ice cream 24/7. I know I gained 30 pounds. I know it doesn't look like it, but I gained 30 pounds.
Me too.
One of the things that Aiden said to me was, and this was interesting because, he's 17 years old, so he's old enough to know difficult times in the past. And he said to me, I'm not worried about it because you always pull through. You always figure things out. Yeah. And I needed to hear him say that to me.
Yeah.
But it was evidence of how I raised him too, because he believes that much in me because I don't allow him to see me stressing. Yeah. I don't allow him to think for a moment that I don't have a backup plan or a solution that we can't figure this thing out. We went from back in 2012, when he was much younger, from a very difficult situation that year to buying a house, to getting a much better job, and so he believes that this is just going to happen. Daddy's going to figure it out. Yeah. And so my point is, I'm not bragging on myself. My point is that you got to give your children that perspective and that hope that you're going to figure these things out, right?
Yeah. He's a
Hey, Julian.
Optimistic child too, and I think
Yeah.
that's what I really love about Aiden too, because he always likes to see the positive in things no matter what. He always weighs out the positive first, and I think that's obviously that's a great attribute that you have given him. So that's kind of what our household is compiled of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Noah running around.
And I will say more thing. We're talking about family time. We're talking about a lot of things. Talk about the pandemic, 2020, so on and so forth. But I think it's important to have routines as well, so that you can be consistent in your relationship with your children and with your significant other. So, right? You agree with that?
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we tend to have a routine to our day, to our week. We'll disrupt it every now and then with certain things. And the other thing I'll say is there's family on here right now. It's important to spend time with extended family.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
That's all you're going to say?
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, that gives us an opportunity to spend, family time consists of that. So if you live around extended family, then absolutely you need to make time for that as well, and I think it's for your children so that they are seeing, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandparents, and, cousins, so that they are interacting with, the extended family of an extension of you pretty much, and they get to tell their version of you to them, and they see, whatever your version of them. I can't even
I got you. I think I understand. I know what you mean because, I'm your husband, but I'm not sure if anyone else did. But I know exactly what you meant.
Well.
All right, any questions for us? Anyone have any questions for us about family time, about our relationship within the bounds, nothing out of bounds, that we can answer for you? I see hearts, but any questions for us? Again, we're talking about family time and the importance of that, and for those of you who just joined the show.
Maybe we should ask a question like, what is a challenge or that they face during pandemic as far as
a good question.
Their family?
Okay. So you guys heard the question. So what are some challenges that you face during the pandemic that you otherwise would not have faced?
My phone keep turning off. That's a good question.
Well, you know what? More to come on that. Only because, Noah is a handful.
Yeah, we need like 2 people at a time to watch him. And I don't even know if he'll even sleep if we're not around. So
You're right, Roberta. That is important.
yes.
Awkward. Yeah, it was an awkward moment. But we've talked about it, and yes, we will have. There are date nights in our future. There are definitely date nights in our future.
Yes, we're working on that.
Yeah.
Because the pandemic closed everything down, and then now it's kind of opening everything back.
What would we do if you moved in? We probably would move out.
All right.
No, but
we got some volunteers.
all right, we can have a volunteer debate. Oh, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. With little Noah.
There's no take backs.
All right, Oksana is going to babysit. We do. We travel together. We go places together. But Noah's always there. I mean, we go out to eat, but he's there. So
yeah,
we just haven't had an official date night for a little bit, for a while, right?
Yeah.
Or
It's been a year, maybe. I don't know.
a year, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the whole pandemic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Blame everything on the pandemic.
Yeah. We had a very busy year. You know, we moved, and then I was young, and then it was just like you had a new job, and then the pandemic. It was just like a whole bunch of stuff. So it's coming. But we do watch movies together at night. When Noah goes to bed, you know, we try to spend time together once Noah's put to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, we spend a lot of quality time together, and so date night would be just the cherry on top, if you will.
Yeah. We got to get cute and go out. Have fun.
That's a great idea, Roberta. She said we should do the show. So when we have date night, we'll do the show. How about that?
We'll invite everybody with us.
So you guys want to come with us on our date night? Is that?
Yes. All right.
In fact, that was my idea to do that during the pandemic, right? Do you remember? That was my idea to have everyone, Oh, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk. I don't want to give my idea away. Somebody might steal it, but we can. Yes, you see, it can be. Oh, so she's going to be the director. Okay, of date night. Love it. Love it.
All right.
And you can listen to our conversation as we have date night. That would be great. Are any other questions for us about family time? And talk to us about how you guys are spending your family time. You heard a statistic in the beginning. If you tune in the beginning, we did our own little informal survey, and many people are saying that their relationships have gotten better as a result of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Many people are saying that they're spending more time together. Do I have this right? Tell me if I'm wrong. And many people are spending vacation together as a family. Most are going 1 week, and others are going 2 weeks. So it seems like there's been a positive happening as a result of the pandemic. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot
based on the empirical evidence.
Family time. There's a lot of, it's a high percentage that they are sitting, every night and having dinner together as a family, which is very important, especially now that school started, and I think some jobs are back, working back. They're not working remotely any longer. So that's very important too, to have that quality time, dinner time.
Yeah. I agree. Couldn't agree more. Okay. Any other questions for us before we say goodbye? I was going to bust out into the Blue's Clues song. So it's time for so long.
Don't even, because he'll come. He'll come start singing.
Oh, boy. Noah has taken over the TVs in our house. I cannot watch CNN or sports anymore without him saying Blue's Clues or Paw Patrol. He wants us to always put it on Blue's Clues or Paw Patrol. I have to say no, CNN. CNN. That's what we're watching.
He is.
Okay.
He is determined.
Oh, you know the song, Roberta?
No.
You got some little ones as well. But we'll sing one more song.
Thanks for doing your part.
You sure are smart.
Me and he's looking at me.
And my dog Blue.
He's laughing. Come here, Mama. Okay, never mind.
He's not coming? Okay. Who is Noah voting? Okay, come on. He can't vote. Really?
Or like Blue's Clues?
Yeah, he's voting for Paw Patrol. If I had to guess. Do the propeller. All right, this is devolving into a different kind of show. So thank you, everyone, for I'm reading the last comment here. Uh-oh, there's our alarm. All right, thanks, everyone, for joining the show. It's been real fun talking about family time.